I know. Hi, welcome. Let's talk about dating. I'm Christine Baumgartner, dating and relationship coach with The Perfect Catch. And this is Barry Selby, author, speaker, woman mentor, and all around good guy.
Well, thank you. And
You're welcome. Oh, thank you. It's the truth. So today, wow, this is a really multifaceted, multi-layered subject about when do you start introducing people to your families? Wow. Because boy, families think they get a big opinion, right?
Well, it's also interesting because the time we're in right now, this conversation really is like, some people are going to be 6 months away because until the vaccines are widespread, everybody's off, out of quarantine. You can't go outside your bubble. So maybe that's going to be the overarching caveat. You can't meet the family until then, which may be a blessing.
Maybe.
But we should probably speak more globally in terms of people when it's not during the conditions of the lockdown, because this is an important topic.
It's a really important topic. And I've certainly had it come up a lot with people about what's too soon, what's too long, what should I say, how should I do it? And then you think of the different age groups, because there's people that are dating that have small children, and then people who have grown children, and some people have to deal with their exes, and it's just a myriad of cast of thousands, actually, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting switch because in the olden days when I was younger,
the olden days,
I used to about meeting my girlfriend's parents. As time's gone by, it's meeting my girlfriend's kids, which is so it is an interesting, but in a lot of ways, and I think in some ways they are different conditions, because meeting the parents has a certain weight to it, but meeting the kids has even more weight, because if you're meeting someone and you've been in a long-term relationship with them, if they're young kids, they may become your stepchildren down the road. So I think it's a more weighty conversation about that part with the parents.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a really good place to start is with the what's too soon, what's soon enough. And certainly in my world, what I talk about, since a big part of my practice is widowed people, is not until it's something serious. I mean, certainly not if it's something casual. And I even say, don't tell them. It's none of their business if you're casually dating. Very, very, very confusing, right?
Right. And also, and I think even before that to a degree, is often there is the honeymoon experience where when you fall in love with somebody, you want to tell, like, this is my person, I'm going to be happy forever. Let's meet the parents now. It's like, give it a few weeks.
Oh yeah, few weeks.
Get over the honeymoon.
Yeah, I think that, so some of the pacing that I talk about in my practice is that, yes, you meet somebody and you're like, oh my gosh, they seem so wonderful, and I'm so wonderful, and the relationship's so wonderful. And then, of course, you're going to find out something. You're like, oh, I wonder about that. It's not necessarily a bad thing or a deal breaker thing. It's just a new thing to go, what do I think about that? And what am I going to ask more about that? And how am I going to sort that out with me? And you don't want to involve your family in that part at all, ever. That's too many. I mean, you could have a coach or a therapist or a very happily in a very happy relationship that's been going on for more than 10 years person you could run it by, but not your single friends, and certainly not your kids.
No.
About there's this thing, and am I being too sensitive about it? Do I need more information about it? What kind of conversations do I need to have with them? And this is both sides. Men and women go through this. Don't you go through this with your clients too?
Oh yeah. I mean, actually, I remember it was this was a friend of mine I was seeing, and I saw them every 6 months to a year. It didn't seem that frequently for some reason, just the way our lives turn around. And it was almost like a different partner every time I met them.
Oh wow.
And I kept thinking, it's like, are you dating that quickly? And it's like, no, because it's not like we saw each other every week. If it was every week, it'd be really scary. But every 6 months to a year, she'd already met somebody else. And it's like, but what happened to? So I'm thinking, if she introduced each person to her parents, or to her kids, the kids at the time. How many times parents go for another one? Because it's almost the other thing when you introduce your spouse to your partner to your parents. Ideally, you want to make it a big occasion. Ideally, you want to make it very important. It's like meeting your parents is not just like casual, unless your parents live next door to you or something like that. It's more about having this sense of occasion that when you're introducing your new partner to your parents, it's because there's something important to you, which is maybe marriage, moving in together. So having a relationship so solid that your parents need to know about them.
Mm-hmm. And what I hear too is the kids, grown kids, will say, I like them. I don't want to like them if you're going to end the relationship with them, because then I liked them and I'm going to miss them. And it's hard. And it's not as if that can't happen, you know, after a year down the road or 2 years. It's less likely if you have gone through the 4 seasons together, at least once. Where if it's only been, you know, a couple of months and you're still feeling all excited about them, it can be so hard on the family members. Hopefully you really have gotten with somebody that's a nice person, but it might not be a match for you.
Right.
And it's too much to keep asking them to do that over and over again.
Because the thing is, what you're realizing is you're creating a relationship between them and your partner too, especially with kids.
Oh, kids, little kids. Oh.
Yeah. I would say, frankly, if you have young children, you're in the dating world, you don't introduce anyone to your kids until you reach a milestone you know you won't be going back from.
Yes.
It's
a monogamous future commitment with each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
And not before.
No. And
they're compatible with the kids, but first they have to be really compatible with you. And you have to go through most of the time. I mean, there's a tiny percentage of people that figure it out right away. Most people, you really need to go through some time together and see when those things come up, can you deal with them?
Oh, yeah.
Is it not a big deal? Is it a medium deal? Is it a small deal? Yeah.
And part of that also, just to make it more fun, is this feeling that, I mean, a lot of my clients is the deep work healing past grief, challenge, relationship, outside everything else, that when we meet somebody new, we're so happy with them because they distract us from our own pain.
Oh, yes.
Now, it's a bit off topic because this is what I'm talking about here about meeting the family. But the thing is, it's so you really, as a conscious person in a relationship, you want to really make sure that the partner you're with is there because of their own standing versus that you use as a cover-up or a distraction for your own wounding, pain from past relationship.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, it's my focus, really. You know, the work I'm doing now more and more is really that moving from that externalization of like meeting somebody and having everything go perfect to doing what's inside that's in the way, so you can actually have a more authentic and a mature, so look at what the word is coming forward, having a really relationship with somebody. So it's like that thing. Like, if you dare to take them to see your parents or your children, whatever it is you're meeting to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the internal healing. Where are you in your internal healing from a breakup, a death, some other challenge, your business failed, you know, you've had a financial setback, whatever it is. Yes, love and chemistry can be this amazing distraction. Oh my gosh, it's so fun. So fun. And it's so, the good feeling hormones are swishing around in your brain. And who would want to keep doing that?
Of course.
And the so many downsides of that are that you aren't going to pay attention to work on the thing that's now been a problem and could be a real block to a happy, healthy relationship. And it's like you got a stopper in it, so you can't grow even in your relationship that you're trying to develop, I think, because you're stifling your own personal growth.
Oh, absolutely. And okay. Just reminds me of one of my experience I had before too. But when I was listening to a lecture by Dr. Barbara DeAngelis, who was John Gray's ex-wife, and been making love work for many years in LA, and she made this comment about how the wounding in our heart gets in the way of us loving properly. And the analogy she used, which was pretty wonderful, and because to me it resonated. I like metaphors and images to rock onto. It was about how the challenge is that when we go through a painful experience in a relationship, or a wounding, or a bad breakup, and a broken open, or we feel heartbreak, oftentimes we're trying to, because we're protecting that wound inside. We're holding back we're actually keep ourselves safe. And so what we do is imagine that our love is like an ocean or a lake, and that protection is ice on top of the lake, like little chunks of ice. We're protecting different parts where we've been wounded. It's like putting a band-aid over it to cover it up. As time goes by, we cover up more and more of the ice because we're not doing anything to clean up the pain and wounding underneath it. So those dates and relationships we get into, whilst we're still covering things up, not only are they going to be avoiding the depths of the pain, but more importantly, perhaps, is that you've covered up so much of you're not able to love as fully as you were in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Soon to be shorter. So the way she put it, which is basically, is that the more wounding you have, the less love you're able to give.
It's true.
You're protecting it too much. So until you can actually heal and then take the protection away, that's when you can love. The relationship is matching, honoring, and deserving what you want.
Yeah. Oh, that is such a good visualization and such a good point. It's like slowly shutting down the faucet.
Yeah.
It can't flow freely in and out. It just can't. There's no way. And what's interesting too is it seems like we're so off topic, but I find this I think it's very on topic, because sometimes this wound has come from our family members. Oh, what a surprise. Nobody is surprised to hear that.
Yeah.
So now you're interacting with these family members that have caused some of these wounds, and that's going to reactivate.
Yes.
And want you to push it down even more and cover it up even more. And what I see happening too is then that high and excitement you're getting from the other person, you're going to need even more of that, and you're going to get dependent on that, which isn't the relationship. It's not the building of the relationship. It's just that chemical distracting high part. And it can't sustain. It can't. I mean, a loving, committed, monogamous, future planning relationship cannot be sustained on smashing down. No. It has to be flow and growing. And yep, there's a weed that pops up. Oh, there's a pothole that pops up. And then you need to deal with it individually with somebody, a professional, or together as a couple, or the couple goes to professional help. And it gets fixed, but instead of it just keeps getting covered. And as you said, I mean, if you have all the ice covered, where is there the juicy place to have feeling and romance and even a passionate fight? You can't even do that because you're so afraid. You're afraid of your feelings, you're afraid of their feelings. And then it's like, oh, there's so much, I can't let any of it out because it would just explode. I'll make a big mess all over me and everybody else.
Absolutely. In fact, what hit me, the visual that hit me would crack me up. As you said, we oftentimes our wounding comes from our parents and from what we're raised with. So you meet your new partner who basically is brought in because of those patterns, and you meet your parents who are the same thing. You're sitting there in this wonderful relationship, you're going, it's wonderful, and you start seeing your parents and your partner, and you go, oh crap.
That was my first marriage.
Oh.
They liked him a lot because he had all these traits that they had that were so hard for me. And I was like, oh my God, now I'm really outnumbered. It was really.
But then you can see, I mean, this is a hard example to have, but if you see that clarity and go, oh, that's why I'm choosing this, that's what you want, great. But if you don't, like, oh, let me change some things.
Yes. So well, that's what happened when I turned 30. And you think you know everything is when I said, oh, I'll marry this person. And then when I turned 30, I went, oh, I don't think this is working. It turns out I don't know very much at all. Far from everything. I think I need to start over. Yeah. Oh, you just so described it because it was all my parents' hardest traits. It wasn't even their lovely traits. It was really a challenge. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of healing from that.
And that's the teaching, is that we, and I've said this before in our talks, and I talk in my own work as well, is that we inherit automatically beliefs about love and relationship. Our parents teach us, even knowing they're teaching us, and they don't know they're teaching us. It's the example they lead to us. So, yeah, so definitely hold off on introducing your partner to your parents until you've got that one sorted out.
Yes, and it's really an interesting thing to see it pop up that you like, oh, there's that parent thing. Oh, maybe I do need to work on that. That was really helpful. As I saw that through my first part of my single journey, I'm like, oh, I'm still picking that thing. I'm still attracted to that thing. That's really showing me to work on it. So that's another thing. Like, you know, if you really want an acid test, you introduce them to your parents. You're like, oh my goodness, look what they have in common, the good things and the hard things.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's interesting because some of the friend of mine, not a client, we actually worked with some stuff. She's talking about her relationship with her daughter, and she's really getting clear now about her relationship with her mother, who didn't express love, didn't share joy, wasn't doing. Looking back now, because she's now an mature adult, and she's actually going through a middle of a divorce right now, because what she's realizing is the relationship she chose with her partner was so echoing the relationship her mother had, or the lack of relationship her mother had, and the way that she was raised by her mother. She was very clear that she was not going to visit that on her daughter. That was actually the motivation for her to do the work she's done, so that her daughter gets raised in a much cleaner environment. And that's the thing, is that if you are a single person with kids, or you're looking to have kids, don't they deserve a better choice of life than maybe what you were raised with? So to do the work yourself, to break the cycle, to undo the ties that bind from your own parents' way of teaching, so you don't carry that power forward into your own relationships and therefore into your children's relationships. That's a gift worth giving.
Yes. Oh, and it's the one that keeps on giving, because you're now first, do you want to be an example of somebody who doesn't pick good relationships? Because that's the choice. Or now you can learn how to pick good relationships for you, and what a good example you are for them, because they absorb everything you're doing, what you're doing. It's really kind of fascinating how people don't realize. But if you look back, of course, we were just talking about we get from our family. Of course, the same thing's happening with their children. So it's a carrot that I dangle to women. They're like, oh, I'm not sure if I really want to do it. We'll do it for them. Oh, okay, I'll do it for them. And then it's nice that they reap the benefits too.
And that's the thing is that we have the power to change our future and the future of our children. So as that it's not some helpless thing we have no control over. You can actively and intentionally make a difference so that your children's lives change as well. Yeah. Then it becomes like a must-have. It's like an automatically, yes.
Yeah, I can't have anything different than that, because this is what I've learned and I see the benefits. So then when you've waited and gone through the process of getting to know somebody and now have, okay, maybe I will introduce them, they're going to be bringing this cohesive, connected way that the two of you have now worked it out together. You've gone through some hard things. You've had to have some challenging conversations. And now you can do that in front of your children.
Yeah.
And be not only a good example for dating, but a good example of being in a relationship.
Absolutely. And of course, the thing is, your parents side of the equation, where you have a healthy person who is not a mirror of your parents' relationship. You run the risk of the parents not approving of them.
That's such a good point too. Yes. Oh my goodness, Barry, that's such a good point. Thanks for bringing that up.
Certainly.
Yeah. You know, if you've had a bad relationship with your parents and they don't like them, that might be a really good thing to take a look at. I think that's such a good point. I used to tell people my cat was, the cat I had before was such a good determinant of people. I mean, there were guys that came here and she was like, eh. And I was like, I should take a look at that. And she just jumped in my late husband's lap. So there you go.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's important to say, when you do start introducing them to friends too, because that's another big hurdle, to listen to what they say, and then how does that fit you? You know, does that fit with who you are and your things that are important to you and the things that you need to have in a relationship, that if they complain about it, is that them? Or does that fit you? I think it's really essential, because I constantly ask women, especially, I go, so who have you gotten dating advice from before? And it's all their single women friends. And I'm like, well, I think they're really good at staying single. So if that's the advice you want, I mean, I think I want you to have friends a lot and I want you to do stuff with them, but I'm not sure dating advice. That's when I talk about find people that have been in a happy, healthy, long, more than 10 years, whether it's married or not, but ask them how they succeeded. because they got where you want to be. Isn't that who you want to talk to? Like us, we've gotten to where they want to be. We've gotten to this more healthy dating place that they're not, or they would be in a healthy relationship. And if they keep asking these friends that have been single forever, not sure that's the best person to be taking advice from.
Unless those single people have been busy doing their own work and retransforming their own lives, which is the other part. That's my, so, you know,
Yes.
a long time. So I place a much more of a broader view of how human beings, and it is the challenge with women. I think women do it more than men. I think checking with their peers to get feedback on about the people they've met.
Yeah.
It's like girls will check in with, I think women are checking with their women friends about, you know, what they think of the guy they're dating.
Oh yeah.
But men will check in with other men to say, how, look what I got as a partner. You know, it's the other way.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh. Oh yeah, very true. Oh, I love the differences between men and women. We love talking about that.
Yeah, we do.
So then what do you do when you want to introduce somebody to your family, you know? And even right now, like I'm going to spend Christmas Zooming with my family. If I had a significant or other person that I was comfortable introducing them, I'd have them on Zoom with me.
Right.
Yeah. Whether or not we were together in the same four walls, we'd still have an interaction.
And in a way, that's a good thing, because in some ways it's a little easier.
Mm-hmm.
With certain distinct, you know, computer screen separating you from other people, so there's a certain safety net. You know, it's like, if it doesn't work out, it's not an investment. It's like when you meet somebody in person, there's a bigger investment energetically than you do through a screen. So in some ways, meeting the parents during this time with the Zoom and the distance way of doing things may actually be a little easier and less expensive energetically. You know, we bring
Yes.
somebody parents in person, that's racking up some points on a emotional scale.
Yes.
Whereas doing things through a screen, you've got some latitude, I say.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's one of the things I've noticed when I've encouraged clients to meet over Zoom, even though you're really excited and it's a brand new person and oh my goodness, there's a little extra comfort because you're sitting on your couch. You're in your own four safe walls and you feel a little bit more yourself than you do when you're at a restaurant. And so people have found, as much as they fought me and thought it wasn't such a great idea, it's had some really nice benefits. And I think that that could be for the families as well, because they're on their couch and you're on your couch, the new person, and like it was me and somebody I was dating and my family, we all in our respective homes, which can give us a little extra sense of comfort when it's such a kind of a nervous thing to meet the first time.
oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's like just doing dates through Zoom is great, because it's much easier to leave there than it is to leave a restaurant.
Oh, yes. Oops, gotta go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So having that virtual introduction, I think is definitely, and it may become, I mean, where it's going right now, maybe it's going to become the way we do things ongoing. It's not going to be a permanent thing. It's just what we do right now because it works. But I think it may become a norm. I mean, I know that, for example, the way that movies are going to be released online as well as in theaters, that's becoming a norm perhaps for a while. Maybe dating was through a virtual format like this, and meeting parents through a virtual format become the norm for a while. I don't know.
I think it's a really good point. It's certainly they're saying it might be through the spring. So as much as we don't like it and we'd all like it to be a different way and we all want it to be back like it was before and normal, we can't right now. So people still want to meet, people still want to date, they still want to figure out how to be in a relationship and find love. And they still need to, if they're date for a while, want to introduce them to their family. So this is the best option, I think. I mean, it's really working. It's working. So try it.
Right.
Yeah. So then I should want to talk about how do you prepare a new person? What do you tell them? How much do you tell them about your family and their quirks and their traits and their idiosyncrasies? Because haven't we all been there? Both on they're meeting my family and I'm meeting their family. Oh my gosh. I think that it's not very fair to blindside people at all.
No.
So I think let's, yes, we're going to put a pin in that. Don't you all want to come back because of that? And we're off to a break. Hi, we're back. Let's talk about dating and how soon to introduce somebody to your family. And we were going to talk about how to do it and how much to talk about what your families are like, because you know them better than anybody. And I mean, I think our attitude can be colored about them for sure. But I think it's important to be a little forewarned if it's going to be, there's something they don't like talking about, or I think we really need to address how to not get blindsided.
Well, the thing is it's like if you're really blindsided your parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost like I know some relationship partners like to test their partners. Yeah. But we're talking about a different side, which is basically you're on where you want your partner on your side.
Yeah, we want everybody to come out feeling like they won.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because if you care about this person, it'd be nice to treat them in a courteous way,
and to make sure they feel safe and comfortable and confident being in your company when you go see the parents, for example.
Yeah. Yes. So if there's particular subjects that are hot buttons, don't talk about or do talk about. It's not like forever and ever. Let's start out with everybody getting a chance to put their best foot forward. I mean, there's a reason that is a very important term. It came from the courtly times when men wore stockings and shoes with heels and beautiful buckles, and which was their best side, and they would put that best foot forward. That's where that term came from. And it still feels that way now. You want to be able to, like, if your parents feel like they want somebody that dresses up a little more, even though now you only have to dress up from the waist up.
On Zoom, yes.
Yeah. We did a funny thing the other day where everybody was showing what they look like on top and then on the bottom, just because it was people that knew each other. It was pretty funny because there's no the same. The top and bottom don't match at all right now.
Yeah, business jacket, tie, and flip-flops.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and shorts. Yeah, yeah. So, and then also to tell your parents, I mean, if you've started saying, now I want to tell you about somebody and they're important to me, and because they're important to me, I want you to meet them, and here's things about them. And I'm going to stick in a little subject that we can address in a second, but lessen the number of things you talk about that are complaints in the beginning, because your parents are going to want to jump on your side. And if you've gotten over, now you get over the thing, and now your parents still are upset about it because they care about you, then this poor person could walk into the room with them still annoyed, and you're like, well, didn't we work that out? That can happen.
Yeah. And also on top of that is there are some family where the parents don't feel that any man is worthy of their daughter, for example.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I had a husband. That was my first husband. His mom didn't think that. So it was hard. It was really hard.
So the challenge or the opportunity, either choice, is to really to share with your new partner, the one you're going to introduce your parents to really set them up for success. So way you almost want to be more extreme in your preparation of them. Yeah. Let them know everything that might be, like what are the hot topic trigger issues, like, you know, oh, my dad is a raging conservative, and I know you're liberals, that wouldn't work out, so just stay away from politics. Or he's a atheist and you're a Christian, and it's like whatever the differences are, because the truth is most stuff is okay, but like be aware of what is the like they do not enter here type areas of conversation. Mm-hmm.
Certainly the first time. First time. You're not saying we're stifling your conversation topics forever. Just the first time. Let's give everybody a chance to get to know each other in the best possible manner.
Yeah, let's talk about TV shows and food.
Yes. Yeah. So it was interesting when I was dating my late husband, his daughter was 15 when we met. And I even said, let's not tell her about us till we know, let's keep dating. And so she would go away for the weekend. Once we started spending weekends together, she would go away to the weekend with her mom. And so I would go spend the weekend at the house. And then she had encouraged him to use online dating. So she had started saying, well, how's it going? And have you met anybody? So we met in October, and in January, the end of January, she had said, so you've met somebody? He goes, yeah. And we've been dating since October. And she asked to meet me. He didn't bring it up. Okay. I thought that was pretty impressive. And because I knew that her birthday had just been like a week before, I brought a little present. And I said, I know it's been your birthday, and I brought you a present. I hope you'll like it. And she said, of course I will. And I was like, oh, I like you already. Really? So I asked him, so what did you tell her about me? And he had talked about that I liked horses. She had a horse, and that I had nieces and nephews that were around her age, and that what the kind of stuff I did with them. And just, it was helpful that he had kind of paved the way a little bit about the kinds of things we liked doing together and the kind of person I seemed to be, because it was really scary to meet her. I thought, if she doesn't like me, I think this couldn't happen.
No, one of my clients had that issue where basically his daughter was solely against her. And it was a hardship. The challenge was she was in love with him, but she couldn't be with him because it was disrupting the family. Oh. So she and a lot of her work was the inner work about healing that judgment, forgiveness, and self-recrimination, because she kept feeling guilty about it. Understandably, there's a certain level of responsibility, but the same thing is true, is that that's also one of the things too, not to blame her or anything. Say that you can't take all that responsibility on yourself to be the one trying to fix it. But it's like it can be disruptive relationship. So yes, having a good with the child or the parent can add to the relationship, definitely. Oh,
so much. And I told her when Tony asked me to marry him that I would not have said yes if I hadn't fallen in love with her too, and that she hadn't indicated that she loved me back. Yeah, it would have not worked out. I mean, he had a son. His son's 20 years older, so I met him and his wife and the kids, and I mean, it's 35. It was way easier than somebody 15. Really, such a hurdle. And she'd had him to herself for 4 years, because when they got divorced, she didn't see her mom right away. So I went in going, how's this going to be? And I think having our communication that Tony and I did, and working up to, yes, this is what we're all about and our foundation, and then let's see what we can do about his daughter. I think gave us the best chance because, wow, it's a challenge. And then with widowed people, the kids are about, well, is it too early? And does that mean you don't still love the dead spouse? And that's a whole nother area of, I tell widow people, as you're starting to date, before you tell your kids, you need to start doing some preparation about, I loved them, I'll never not love them, and I need love again. I want to have love again, and I'll never replace them, and they'll always be your mom or dad. And I need an adult partner. As much as I love you and you're a really good part of my life, it's not the same. You cannot be my adult romantic partner. And to start doing that before you've met somebody, because you can't just spring all that on them. It's like exercising the muscle ahead of time. Have you found that with your clients too?
Yeah, it's something that, well, I haven't worked with, but certainly with divorced clients, they recognize that the attachment to different parents, both divorced and or passed away, is something you can't replace anybody. So being very clear in the conversation, there is no replacing going on, is the fact to start from. Obviously, depending on the relationship with the parents, you have a different conversation, how it was and how it wasn't, and that sort of thing as well. But at least basing on the fact that whatever's happening is not to replace anybody.
Yes. And to say it more than once. Because one of the things I think is really charming about men is the funniest thing I heard one day when he said, my wife keeps asking me if I love her. I told her I loved her on our wedding day. Doesn't she know I'd tell her if I changed my mind? I thought it was so precious. It made me laugh, and I said, oh, of course. Oh, okay. Well, yes, most women need more reassurance than that. So even though you haven't changed your mind, please tell her again. A few more, like once a day would be really nice. She would probably really like that. So the same way with the kids, you can't just blurt it out once and think you don't have to do a little more reinforcement as you're going along, because it's something that men don't always think about.
The more you encourage, the more you reinforce, the better it's going to be. It's something that, because we underplay that stuff. And yes, for me, I'll plead guilty in this one, is that sometimes when we say something, we think that's enough. Once and I'm good to go. It's good to repeat it more than once, just to be assuring and to be. It's good to do.
It's just part of your charm.
Well, yes, I'd like to think so.
And you're so charming. So there you go. You do it a lot.
Okay, thank you.
To clearly start telling them that you're thinking about it is perfectly fine. Because we stressed how much you don't talk about the person, but you talk about that you're going to do it and why, and how little it has nothing to do with them. It has nothing to do with your spouse, so that they get used to the idea before the person shows up. I think that's really best for everybody.
The one thing you don't want to do is surprise your kids or your parents by bringing the new person, because that's not good for anybody.
No.
So yeah, laying the groundwork is a smart move. And as you said, with like having the conversation ahead of time, especially with the kids, that after the divorce or after the death, that you want to basically meet somebody you can have a healthy relationship with because you deserve it. Is a good place to start the conversation from, and then to move forward from that point forward.
And one of the cool things I've seen is that if you say, oh, I liked all these things about the relationship I had, and here's some things I want again, and maybe some things I want that could be even better, that you tell them that this is a way I'm going to be even happier, or I'll be as happy as I was before because I'm now stressing having this in my relationship and in my life. And the other thing I've said is, tell the kids what they've given to your life, how they've been supportive through the divorce or through the death, that it'll be reinforcement that you're not replacing them. It's not that they've been inadequate, because we worry. It's funny, our parents never stop worrying about us no matter how old we get, and we seem to never stop worrying about them. And so to honor, I appreciate what you've been doing for me, and you acknowledge their caring and understanding. It makes it's a nice thing for them, and it paves the way for this new person who they don't feel like they're being replaced.
Right. I mean, I remember when my mom passed away in 2012. I mean, my dad was at the 80s at the time, but it's like I was actually hoping he would meet somebody, because I knew that he was destined to shut down, close out, and basically he's been on death's door for, what, 8 years now. I'm not happy about that. You know, yes, he was 86, 87 when Mom passed away, which is young, but life isn't over yet. Doesn't have to be. So my feeling was almost like I wished he had chosen to meet some women to hang. No, he was never going to go up. He, you know, the love he had with my mother was forever, and nothing would ever change that. But I knew it wasn't going to, for me, it wouldn't replace her, no matter what. So I was looking from that side of things. I look at that and realize that many children probably look at their parents and go, I want you to be happy. And I know whatever you date won't replace the one who passed away or left. But we have to check in with them. So as you said, it's to have a conversation ahead of time with those children. Because 9 times out of 10, they're going to be on your side saying, good, I'm glad you're going to meet somebody again.
Yeah.
Surprised.
Mm-hmm. And the flip side of that is then the kids know that you aren't going to end up dependent on them and needing to move in with them or financial support or emotional, mental support. Because, I mean, the statistics prove that men are best when they're with a spouse. They just are. They tend to be, they live longer. They tend to I mean, it's not like we don't add lots of stress to your life with all of our confusing mood changes every 5 seconds. I mean, I so am going to honor that and call myself out about that. I'm allowed to say that since I have my 2 X chromosomes very intact inside of me. I know I'm not allowed to say that, but I am. And so to hear that as a family member, that if you meet this person and they seem to be making them happy. My father ended up remarrying a woman that there's 3 kids. None of us liked her. We didn't like her at all. She really was. She ended up being all the terrible things we thought. He was so happy. He was ecstatic the whole time. No matter what she did, that we were like, really? He was thrilled. And then, you know, she left him all of a sudden when she'd spent all his money. He still wasn't even unhappy with that. He was so happy that it had happened for, I think it was 3 or 4 years. We're like, okay, we give up. He's happy and it's his life and he's allowed to do it. And it made it easier on us because he had somebody there and she took care of him. And he was probably the happiest he'd ever been in his whole life. So you have to give up, right? Sometimes.
But there's the other part also. I mean, especially as a parent, adult children or children of an adult parent, of course, is you wouldn't like controlling them is not going to be healthy anyway, on any level. So to control their relationship choices, you can offer advice, you can offer feedback, but if you say you can't be out with this person, you will not win. No, because they're not going to. Typically, they're not going to choose the kid over the spouse. They're not. Right. Sometimes I've seen it happen, but not very often. And so we're going to ask him to make that choice. We had all our big speeches as it was happening. And, you know, are you really sure? And look, and yet he was happy. I mean, he really was not fake happy, really happy. Oh, it was wild. Yeah. No, I get the clear.
So I had the opposite of what you've had.
Well, ultimately, yes. But that's the thing is that sometimes when you are in a clear place as the children, you can be the warning sign the parent doesn't get. Mm-hmm. Because that's the thing is you being that third person, being the observer from what's happening, you can be more neutral to witnessing. So depending on how you provide the feedback, it can be helpful. Mm-hmm. Parent to go, oh, maybe I'm not seeing as clear as I want to. So not to deter people from telling your parents maybe they made the wrong choice, but how you present it, talk about. So yeah, this is actually the inverse of the conversation we're supposed to be having, but that's okay. Well,
we always are really good about addressing both sides of the coin, both sides of the fence. True. Both sides of the bed. You know, really.
Indeed.
It's important to look at everybody's perspective and everybody's point of view because everybody's going to impact everybody.
Yes.
Whether you want them to impact you or not, whether they think they can impact you or not. If you're attached, family, and emotionally, you're going to have an effect on each other. So at least acknowledge it and say, well, how can it be the best for us? So ultimately, as much as because before my dad got married, my parents had been divorced a long time. He would come to my mom's house. So we didn't have to do the dash around to different houses. So then when he got married, she didn't want to come to my mom's house. So we were like, oh my God, this is what other people go through, where they have to go to other people's, you have to go to 2 different places for Christmas and 2 different places for Thanksgiving or alternate years. We had never experienced that until really late in life. And we were like, oh, this sucks a lot. So it was one of the interesting things to go through, that it affects everybody. There's always a ripple effect.
Yeah. And you know, the choice of dating is, I think, really on how contained you want to have it, or how much inclusivity you want to have with those around you. Mm-hmm. Partners, you know, spouses, friends, siblings or children, parent, whatever it is. So it's really up to you to decide that too, because when you are with somebody, ultimately the relationship is with just you and them.
Yes.
Unless it's very young children, who may be in there a lot more often than not. But especially if they're adult children, or for your parents, that's going to be every 3 months, 6 months, year that you see them. So it's not the high. But it's good to have that understanding that's an available priority, a thing that you may want to consider in life.
Oh, it reminded me of a guy that I dated. Even though there were generally 4 of us, my mom and my brother and sister and I, were kind of loud. We all liked to talk, and we all had lots of things going on, and it was just lively. And I dated this guy that was an only child, and his parents had been only children. And he kept going, I can tell you all understand each other, but I have no idea how that works. I don't understand how there's no breaks in the conversation, and there's lots of noise all the time. And it was just because it was so foreign to him. He was kind of intrigued, but it was very foreign to him. And I'd not ever thought about that before, because I'd never lived in such a tiny little quiet family. Right. And I learned how to be with his parents. But it was interesting. So some of the things that you haven't thought about that you could get blindsided about, I was thinking it's even better that you've done all the things that you know about. And then, oh, there's this extra thing. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, this is how you can like raise your hand or just jump in so you can feel like you're participating. He felt like we should sell tickets that people could come watch us because we were so funny.
Right.
So that's another thing that you go, oh, somebody that's going to come into a big raucous family that has lots of kids and they've never had kids, or they've only had 1 kid and you have 7. I mean, how do you prepare them? Yeah.
That's a whole other conversation that is definitely challenging. And I mean, interesting because, going to Thanksgiving, when I first did that early on when I started meeting somebody out here, I didn't grow up with Thanksgiving in England. So it's a different framework, different understanding. So, and it's just interesting how family dynamics are. But one time, it was him. We went. I've been in LA for a long time. So, and come from England, in south of England, we didn't have. We basically had a lot of rainy Christmases, but not much else. Over here, it's very
yeah.
So I was in a relationship with this girl, and we went out to see her family at their winter home in Sun Valley, Idaho.
Oh.
Christmas there. And first of all, they had 8 feet across. It was so big like mountain chalet they had. But she had a bunch of nieces and nephews and running around the house. Now I got 1 brother, so it was a little alien to me running around the house and the parent stuff. But they welcomed me in like it was one of the family. It felt very. I mean, it was an interesting thing because I was like, "This is so cool," and I still feel weird. But I remember vividly because that was the time when I woke up on Christmas morning, and the sun was shining through the window. It was blanketed in snow outside. Roaring fire, Christmas presents under the tree. And I went, the image of a white Christmas I always imagined, never seen until that moment. But the recognition also was at the same time, I was watching myself being 2 people at once. I was seeing everything's going on. And I was also witnessing and observing, going, this is strange. So it's an interesting place to play when you're in a different environment that you're not familiar with. So
be understanding about that, of this potential person that you're going to now bring into your family atmosphere. How are they going to react? And it's going to feel weird. There's no way it's not going to feel weird unless you come from really similar backgrounds, which doesn't happen very often. I mean, I have a friend that their general Thanksgiving is 50 people. 50 people. I said, Do they have name tags and color-coded T-shirts so you know who belongs to what family? Because she comes from a family of 8, and then they all had lots of kids, very Catholic family. And I thought, how does anybody jump into the middle of this? It must be really wild. You know, you have like trees or programs or something, you know? So yeah, to be sensitive to how different it might be, that not even just the dating part of the relationship part, but also just what are you used to? Like yours, like, oh my God, this is like, I really like it, but it's too weird.
It's that integration question in a way.
Yeah. How do you integrate it? And like, I want to do it. I think it'll be good, but oh, it's too weird right now.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And that's the fun part they're playing with, because we're always exploring relationship with people who may have a different background than we have.
Yeah.
So in a way, that's the way of the difference. There's a price to pay sometimes, and there's a challenge to pay sometimes, but at least there's something that's not the same and not the same monotony. So me, somebody's got the same makeup your family does is great, but it's rare.
Yes. And to stay aware of everybody's going to stumble a little. Everybody's going to put their foot in their mouth a little. Everybody's going to feel off balance a little. And to have some grace about it for yourself, for them, for your family, for your kids. Nobody's good at this yet. You know, as much as you've done preparing, everybody's going to flub up. It's like, and look at you laughing, to have a sense of humor about it.
Absolutely.
Just be a little lighthearted about it. Nobody's going to die from this misunderstanding or miscommunication or, oh my God, I'm not used to snow, but wow, this is pretty cool. But walking in the snow, or am I supposed to go out in it? And yeah, it's weird because there's this pod, and how do you like integrate yourself into this pod? And it has to be gently and graciously. Yeah.
At the same time, and I'll add to this piece as well, as well, maybe the ending of then this topic is the biggest challenge. Maybe for me, coming from my background, is that you want to be on your best behavior, do things perfectly, get it right.
Oh, yes.
So I want to make sure they make a good impression, all those things we which is the guaranteed way of messing things up anyway.
Oh, yes.
But recognizing that the best you can be is real.
Yeah.
The best you can be is natural, and you move into somebody else's space where you're going with your new partner into their parents, or their parents' family or their children's experience. Be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't like you, they don't like you. You can do about it. If they do like you, even better. And who you are, not something.
Yes.
So the more authentic you can be this is my thing in my work anyway. The more authentic you are in all your relationships, the better. But certainly when you're meeting the parents.
Oh, yes. And to say, gosh, this is wonderful, and I feel really uncomfortable, and wow, it's so neat, and I really want to get good at this, and I feel really not good at this, like such a novice at how to do whatever. Calling yourself out with a sense of humor is so helpful, because they'll know that you're uncomfortable, and they'll think they're doing something wrong. And if you go, no, it's just because it's unusual, they're like, oh, well, we know how to make you feel more comfortable. Come bake cookies with us, or here, put on your slippers, and that kind of thing. That generally, if it's going to be the right kind of relationship, they'll want to put you at ease. But you have to tell them what's making you feel uneasy.
Right. So basically, the thing is then initiate the invitation for that.
Yeah. Be a big grown-up person and say the hard thing. And
what a concept.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's what you and I stress all the time. Oh, there we are at time again.
Yeah.
We knew this was going to be a good subject, and it's so perfect right now, because it'll be interesting to hear from people how are you introducing people now? Are you able to come up with ideas? We hope that we've shared with you some ideas that will get you over the, how do you tell your family about a new relationship hump? So let me know, let Barry and I know. And the way to let me know is you can go to my website, www.theperfectcatch.com, and click at the top at what's holding you back from love. And we can have a great conversation about relationships you'd like to be in, the relationship you're in. You can write to me too at Christine@theperfectcatch.com. I'm on Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and podcasts. And take it away, Barry, and tell people how they can reach you. Take it away. I feel like Edward McMahon. Take it away.
So mine's easy as well, which is basically my name. My website is barryselby.com. On there's also a little chat button. I'm also recommending people check out the Cracking the Codependency Code tab on my menu bar, because I've got a little video series right there you can watch. But if you go to click on Let's Chat, we can have a conversation about your relationship paradigm, where you are, where you want to be, what's working, what's not. Also, by emailing me directly at barry@barryselby.com. And social media, it used to be easy to say. I'm Barry Selby everywhere. I am, except for a couple of caveats. On Instagram, because that got messed up, I'm at the real Barry Selby. And on Facebook, my page is the best way to find me, which is barryselby.author. But on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, everything else is Barry Selby. So you find me there.
Good. Well, thank you, Barry. It's always a delight. And
Likewise.
I think it was a very important subject for this time of year. And we'll look forward to having another really scintillating conversation next Thursday.
Forward to it.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.